we tend to think of our spiritual lives and our work lives as being separate and distinct from each other. And you actually helped me in the book that you wrote almost 20 years ago to see that the dichotomy between that concept of secular and sacred had roots that went way back in Greek philosophy, almost 1,000 years before Christ. And that over the years, while it took on many terms, it was the same seed that divided the world into higher and lower, more noble, common. And as I got a hold of what you were saying there and tried to relate it to what is happening in the work world today, I realized that through history, work was always put in that lower sphere. Work was always common. It was never noble. And yet, that worldview, that dichotomy, is not supported at all by New Testament Christianity. The New Testament talks about a world that is either in alignment with God's purposes or opposed. And certainly work falls into that category. We know from some of the scandals in the work world that we've been reading about that you can take something that's good and you can pervert it. It can be perverted by greed or dishonesty or theft. And so that doesn't mean that the work itself, the accountant at Arthur Andersen or the analyst at Enron, is doing something that's inherently evil. But it took a tilt, it took a twist where it was not reflecting God's best and God's highest. And yet, that same job performed as unto the Lord in that corporation could bring all kinds of honor and glory to the Lord. And so it's a question of how it's aligned. Now, when I got a hold of that, it really revolutionized my view of work. I was not required to think in terms of my work being a second-class endeavor, but I could see it as something that I could give myself to with the same enthusiasm as if I were going into the world of missions or more direct forms of church work. It really had every element of being a calling.